Now then, people, good afternoon. Welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. I hope you are all doing well. Look, I wanted to do something a little bit different today. I've been mulling over this since, was it Saturday, Sunday? Since Sunday, sorry, when we found out what the final Premier League season will look like, 25-26 will look like in terms of the teams that are there. And obviously, if Leeds United are to stay up, then someone needs to come down in our place. Same goes for Sunderland, same goes for Burnley. That's what we're aiming for, right? Is to see one of these mainstay teams, if you like, drop out of the division. We're just going to have a little conversation because, like I say, you know where my head's at. I think it's going to be very tough. I'm under no illusions. If you could give me 17th now, I'd take it. But I am interested to see what the general consensus is. I've just put some teams in a poll, a few mainstay teams at most risk of relegation. I put West Ham, Wolves, Brentford, Bournemouth. Not everyone will agree with that, and I'll talk through my reasons as to why we've touched on these teams or why we will touch on these teams. But I'm just interested to get what people's viewpoints are. It is very difficult to say right now without seeing recruitment and all that sort of stuff who's likely to drop out. It's going to be tough, but we need to have these conversations. We need to think about this as a fan base. If Leeds United are to stay in the division, then one of these teams has to take our place. Obviously, this graphic was put out. I think it was LUFC data, yeah, but you'll have seen this graphic. Obviously, it's looking good in terms of the competition that's there, the teams that are there. But obviously, we already know that as a team where you know we are lagging behind some of these. Obviously, that doesn't always have to be the case because as we saw, Villa a few seasons back stay up, you know, through goal line technology. We're in the Champions League. Nottingham Forest are now in the Conference League after nearly getting relegated. Brentford, Fulham, all have done well. You know, I would have maybe had a conversation about Fulham, but Marco Silva's staying put now. I think he's on record now as saying, I'm not going to Saudi, I'm staying here. So that sort of maybe pulls them out of the conversation. But just to look at these teams, and again, this is before a ball's kicked. A ball just finished being kicked, right? But just to get a sort of idea of who is likely for, you know, to drop out of the division. You've got Arsenal, Villa, Bournemouth, Brentford, Brighton, Burnley, Chelsea, Palace, Everton, Fulham, Leeds, Liverpool, City, Manchester United, Newcastle, Forest, Sunderland, Tottenham, West Ham and Wolves. It's going to be tough. If we have a look at last season as well, this was the finishing. Let me just see if I can pull that up a little bit closer, which I can. These Tottenham are not going to be there. You would imagine these are not going to be there. Everton have seen a real upturn since David Moyes has come in. West Ham, I do want to have a conversation about. I'll give my reasons as to why. Same goes for Wolves. Palace have just won the FA Cup in Europe. Extra money. Will they be there? Fulham. Marco Silva's staying put. Brentford, we can have a conversation about. Maybe even Bournemouth. A lot will depend on what their managerial situation is. But it's going to be so tough. Can't get away from that fact. Joe, stop being biased. Bournemouth and Brentford. I'm not being biased. I'm going to have a conversation. United Ultra. I mean, if they're getting Europe, what are you getting? It's not looking good, bro, is it? Wolves have a better manager than Leeds. Potentially. We'll get into it. Just got my tickets for AC Milan. Are you coming over, Joel? Get us a proper Guinness, says Ryan. Yes, I have, Alex. Yeah, we spoke on that yesterday. Can you please start using dark mode on your web browsers? I'm not sure, mate. I don't know how to do that. Honestly, I think Brentford are in real trouble if Mbeumo goes. This is, again, a conversation I want to have. And Mbeumo has been... he's been linked to Manchester United, I believe, for a pretty decent price. we could see Thomas Frank move as well. So these are all things that we do have to consider and discuss. So I have done. Well, we'll go through and just talk about it. The likes of Brighton, Forest, Brentford survived when you had teams that didn't spend money in the Prem. Now everyone spends money, says Double A. Wolves and West Ham both go down with Sunderland, says Sean. If Everton still had Sean in charge, I reckon they would have got relegated. Or big up Burnley United as well, who come in. With Europe, could Forest drop? Potentially. We'll talk about it, though. The last 2 seasons, obviously, all 3 promoted teams have been relegated. This season, we saw Leicester, Ipswich and Southampton probably give the worst go at it, to be honest, as a collective. It's the second consecutive season it's happened. It is rare, but it also could become in the norm, like the 90-point thing in the Championship. Leeds United were only the second team to ever get 90 points and not go up. There's now been a third team in as many, in 2 years, an extra one added to that, with Sheffield United getting 90. So things are changing. Is the gap getting too big? And will that last 2 seasons become the norm? Obviously, in terms of the promoted teams, Leeds got 100 points, smashed it. Burnley got 100 points, smashed it. Sunderland came up in 4th, playoff winners. In terms of who's more likely to stay up from the promoted teams, obviously I'm going to say us. I almost feel that Sunderland, it's going to be tough because their team is so young. I would argue their team is younger than ours, potentially. I think it is. I think it'll be the youngest squad. There's still even conversation now, even though they've been promoted, about Job. Job, I think he's on his way to Frankfurt. He's leaving. So that's going to be an issue. They've obviously been out of the Premier League for a long time as well. It's going to be tough for Sunderland. Stadium of Light will be a tough place for any team to go, just like Ellen Road is. But I would say personally that they would struggle just due to that. Such a young squad, such an inexperienced squad. Some players are not Premier League quality. Luke 9 and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like it's got shades of Luton a little bit. But, they'll spend, but I don't think they'll do anything crazy. I think their recruitment policy has been very much buy young and flip them, and they might be okay with getting a few players dropping down and having another go at it. But they need a lot of work doing, and I'm not sure their owners are mega rich. So I think they have the least chance, personally. Burnley, great defensive record, but you've got to score goals, and they didn't score enough. And that defence, as good as it were in the Championship, James Trafford, last time he were in the Premier, had a nightmare, didn't he? But he's facing different opposition. Egan Riley's already gone, right? Esther will stay more than likely, but I think Egan Riley's going to Strasbourg, I believe. But what I will say for their defensive record as well, I know the game's not 1xG and all that sort of stuff, but Leeds actually posted up less XG against than them. So as a unit, we were better. But their goalkeeper was just phenomenal. Phenomenal. Double saves, all that sort of stuff. He was phenomenal. He was out of this world. But they still gave up chances. They just had an unreal goalkeeper. And they didn't score enough. We know that. When Marcus Edwards came in, it helped them. But Marcus Edwards in the Championship is a get out of jail free card. In the Premier League, is just one of the bottle. Do you know what I mean? There is 100 Marcus Edwardses in the Premier League. So, and it's their lack of goals. It's their lack of goals for me. That look, they've had to buy Jadon Anthony, for example. They have to buy him now. Same with Marcus Edwards. I'm not saying that would be a bad acquisition. It's not. But they had a lot of loan. If we get promoted, we pay. Leeds United didn't do that. That was smart by the 49ers. So, yes, they've probably got the second. I believe we're most likely, but I'm going to say that. But we scored 95 goals, folks. We scored 95 goals, and we were also great defensively. And we've got big financial backing. I'm not saying the other clubs don't, but I don't think they touch near what Leeds will do. If we get our recruitment right and make tactical adjustments to make sure that we're not, let's say we were open, but we can't be as gung-ho. I would hope that we would still try dominate possession, by the way. I would hope that. But also be wary that at times we're not going to, and therefore need to play counter-attacking, which we've done as well under Farker, to be fair. Is a mid-table finish for Leeds United out of the realms of possibility? The last 2 seasons will tell us, yeah. But we've seen other clubs do it. 15th to 17th would be phenomenal, wouldn't it? Would be phenomenal. But I would say we are the favourites to stay up, I would say. But obviously Burnley and Sheffield or Sunderland fans and maybe people who don't like Leeds United will disagree. But I think we have the best chance. We spent 2 years in the Champo building a good squad. We've got a great manager, in my opinion, and we have obviously the backing of the 49ers, which could be over 150 million at this rate. And what I would say for them, their recruitment's top notch. Yeah, and if we stay up, Conclasher, like you say, it's massive. If we stay up, then we can really start to build, can't we? You get more money in your second year from FFP. From the parachute payments or whatever it is from the Premier League if you manage to stay up and all this sort of stuff. So, maybe Little Sparrow, maybe. Joe, tell me who you get points away from home. But how many games did you go this season without winning a game at home, United Ultra? Can you remember? It was a lot, wasn't it? Probably pick up points there. It's hard. It's hard to pick up points on the road. No one's getting away from that fact. But if you win your home games, get points away. We're not going to be whipping boys. I'm telling you that now for a fact. Listen, I don't know if we'll stay up. I don't know. I think it'll be very hard, and I'm under no illusions. But we will not be whipping boys. We will not be whipping boys. Not by any stretch of the imagination. We won't be Leicester. We won't be Southampton. We won't be Ipswich. I do think we're most likely. But then it's a conversation about which established teams, because that's what they are now, are more likely to get into a relegation battle. I've put 4 teams in the poll. I'm not saying that they're my picks or if I think they are, but I'm just interested to get people's takes. Some might be surprised to see Bournemouth in there and a Brentford or whatever, but I just wanted to pick 4 teams. I'm not bothered about that, Sean. It's part of the fucking game, innit? If I stick to my guns and not change my opinion all the time, it don't matter if people clip me up. That's the point, innit? You get clipped up if you make crazy claims or say something that doesn't happen or is wrong, I guess. So, but yeah, hope we do transfers early this summer. I think we will. Big summer ahead for Bournemouth. Yeah, we'll talk about some of the teams as well, because if we think about it, you've got Semenyo's linked. Kirkes is leaving. They need to ensure that their recruitment's right, and up to this point, it has been. You have to say that for them. Their recruitment at Bournemouth, for example, has been great. But like I said, we dominated the championship. 100 points, 95 goals. Joel Pirro, top scorer. Dan James had a really good season. You know, your fullbacks had a really good time out there. Ampadu, Rodon, Tanaka, all these players. Aggressive attacking style. Will that translate to the Premier League? That's the main question, right? The challenges that we faced. Joe, one injury to Aronson and your season is over. He won't even be playing, bro. It shows. I don't know if you're just on the wind up there, but yeah, no, Aronson won't start. Challenges. Obviously, there is going to be naturally, not from me, but there is question marks over Farker in the Premier League due to his time at Norwich. So, of course, people will question his top flight adaptability. And we do lack some proven Premier League quality, which is where recruitment comes in. We have to get recruitment right. Invest in experienced Premier League players for me that have been there, have done it, wore the t-shirt, have been in relegation scraps, understand what it takes to get through them. We need a reliable striker, a reliable goalkeeper. Of course, Pirro deserves an opportunity, but if it ain't working, then you need to make sure you've got someone waiting in the wings who's ready and who can score goals. And I guess a lot of our optimism, a lot of my optimism as well, folks, comes from the 49ers and what they'll do in the transfer market. That's where a lot of my confidence comes from. Now, if we talk about some of the mainstay teams that are at risk of relegation, we know the last 2 seasons newly promoted, and that's why everyone now is quickly to just say you're going to get relegated. You're going to get relegated because recency bias, forgetting that 3 seasons ago when we got relegated, Nottingham Forest almost got relegated, and now people forget this. People forget that Villa almost got relegated. Bang. And they then played in the Champions League this season. People forget all this. It's all about recency bias. But so the last 2 seasons saw that. Now, what it does show us is in terms of the teams above those newly promoted teams, they're all competitive. Not that the Premier League was never not competitive, but they're all competitive to a very high standard. And you only have to look at how poor Man United and Tottenham have done, for example. I know the seasons have been great. You can blame it on the manager. You can blame it, but that would have never happened in the 90s. There was nothing crazy like that, really. It's just that now the quality for all teams in the division's just unreal. You've got Wolves with Acuna, for example, but like I say, he's going to Manchester United. That deal's done. So that's where we need to look at it. One that might surprise people, one of my picks, if you like, early pick, which is probably wild, but I do believe that established teams must avoid complacency, and especially those that are reliant on key managers or players, right? And the first team I want to talk about is West Ham and their reliance on one Jarrod Bowen. Could this be the season that Jarrod Bowen moves from West Ham? And they finished 14th. Graham Potter's there. It hasn't gone amazingly. They do have a very strong squad, but what's going on with Paqueta? What's going on with Kudus? Obviously, Somerville's injured, but you've got Jarrod Bowen there. You've lost the Premier League experience, if you like, to Fabianski, Soufal, Creswell, who gets what it means to be West Ham. Souček could be leaving as well. And in another season, again, we have to put context that they might say, well, we'll finish 14th, we'll way out. If the 3 relegated teams were as bad as they were, it'd have been a different story. And I think if someone like Kudus, Jarrod Bowen are wanted and targeted by bigger clubs, then there could be an issue there. And again, and Yorkshireman, you say West Ham stay up easily, but someone's got to go if we stay up. This is the point. So we need to start having a look at some teams and being like, could they? Could they? Another one is Wolves. Wolves. They were close to it this season. Obviously, they had a change of manager when was it O'Neill got sacked? No, it wasn't. Who was it? Who was it who got sacked? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? It was O'Neill, Gary O'Neill. 11 losses in 16 games. But Mateus Cunha on his way. He's going. João Gomez, could he leave? Wolves is one you would hope and look at and say, right, okay, well, they could be in the conversation. United will try. I know West Ham have an awesome squad. Kudus, Paqueta, the like. I get it, but we're having a conversation. Like, which are if they're not gonna, then who? If they're not gonna, then who? Strand Larsen's there. Aitonora is wanted by City. João Gomez could leave. Obviously, we know Cunha is going to leave. So then Wolves, should be a conversation there. Other teams, I'd have liked to have thrown Fulham in here, but Marco Silva's staying. Brentford and Buemo on his way to Manchester United. Of course, Brentford will recruit well. Thomas Frank. Does someone take a chance on Thomas Frank? Do Spurs sack Ange? Could still happen. Could they look to Thomas Frank? I really, really rate Thomas Frank, by the way. And he's built a good squad. The squad isn't amazing, but it has some very good players in it. And Buemo Wisso. But without Buemo, where would they be? Without Buemo, where would they be? Kevin Schade played well, but Buemo's a totally different ball game. Johan Wissa, good player. But my point is, you lose. Let's say you lose Buemo. Wissa gets an injury. These are all intangibles that we have to look at. Brentford could be one. Bournemouth, another. It's Iriola, isn't it? Big up Solomon. Iriola's another one. If Iriola leaves, and Iriola will be wanted, I'd imagine a lot of teams on the continent as well. I'd imagine in Spain even. Spurs again could be one. I think it all depends on the manager situation, really. I don't think Fulham's squad's amazing. I don't think it's amazing. I like Bassi. I like Iwobi. Raul Jimenez doesn't score loads, does he? Robinson leaves. I think Robinson leaves. The left back. I think someone comes for him as well. Yeah, it is going to be tough for us, but again, I guess I'd ask, like, who do we go for? You know, otherwise we are doomed. Do you know what I mean? So it's a conversation. Wolves. There we go. Solomon says Wolves suffered with no Neto this season. Of course, who went to Chelsea. No Cunha will get them relegated. Could well happen. I don't see Everton being in the conversation now, but like I said, we're debating it, so we could have a conversation about Everton. New stadium. Again, Everton have lost, I think there's 11 players out of contract. So their recruitment has to be bang on. But I just think with David Moyes at the helm, they're going to be all right. But we don't know what their team's going to look at for sure. So Everton, I don't know, but let's hope that the move to, what's this new stadium called? It's on the docks anyway. Let's hope the move to the new stadium is not a good one. It's not a good one for them, and David Moyes doesn't happen, but I just don't think I just don't think they're in the conversation for me. I don't. And Bournemouth's probably a wild shot, but it could all change if Iriola comes in. Someone mentioned Palace earlier on. I just can't see it. I think the manager. But again, right, listen. How many weeks or how many games did Palace go at the start of the season without a win? And they kept faith with Glasner, and look what's happened. They won an FA Cup. But if the newly promoted teams had anything about them, they could have been in a relegation battle from early, and then it might have got sticky for them because it's a different kind of pressure. I think Man United and Tottenham were able to throw the league as much because of how poor the newly promoted teams were. They couldn't buy a win. And then when relegation were confirmed, they started to win games. Do you know what I mean? Dick Mace says, if we get our recruitment right, this season could be much better than we think. 100%. That's what it all boils down to. And it's the same for every team. It's the same for everything. It's the same for these other teams, the West Ham, the Wolves, because they'll lose players. It's whether or not they can put them in. If Jared Bowen gets a chance to move, West Ham need to make sure they replace him with an adequate replacement. And we've seen with West Ham, their recruitment can be sketchy. Their recruitment of strikers over the past fucking 10 years has been mental. That's where strikers go to die. And Mikel Antonio just takes the place. We've seen Haller go there. We saw Scamacca go there. And then we saw Fulcrum go there. None of them have done out. Alex says we are saying all this thinking Sunderland and Burnley. You're right. Exactly. We might be the ones at the foot of the table. I can't see it. But another thing to mention is as well is obviously the European stuff. So many teams in Europe. Arsenal, City, Newcastle, Chelsea, Spurs, Forest, Palace. Is that everybody? Is that everybody? But that's 7 teams. Now, of course, some of these are top teams, but it still means they have to rest. It still means you have a better chance of getting points from them if they've played midweek. Ryan Powell Higgins, big up member. Happy birthday, bro, for 12 months. Happy birthday to you. He says, got my Creator Cup tickets. Bollocks to prostate cancer. Big up to you. Yeah, everybody make sure you get your Content Creator tickets. The Content Creator Cup, which is on the 20th of July, where myself and other content creators will be performing. Looking forward to it. So make sure you check it out. Spurs, I mentioned. Liverpool, yeah. Luca, they're in Europa League. So there you go. So there's 8 teams. 8 teams. Liverpool, City, Spurs, Newcastle, Chelsea, Villa, Forest, Palace. 8 teams. 8 teams. Does that? I don't think that has an impact on it, bro, because they're Champions League. I don't think that has an impact on it. I may be wrong. I just don't see it, mate. Just because I think their squad's so young, and to think they're gonna get promoted and then lose one of their best players in Job, that doesn't get you off to a good start. It reminds me of Sheffield United going up and losing and die. Who's now at Everton, and then I'm having a nightmare. So yeah. Semenyo's a big one, right? Semenyo's a big one at Bournemouth as well. There's all these things to factor in. People have mentioned Eze. Well, I don't think Eze leaves with them getting Europe. I think he'll want to lead Palace out in Europe. But yeah, it's going to be so hard, isn't it? It's going to be very, very tough. Would I take Hume from Sunderland as a backup? Yeah, he's not as good as Bogle, though. He loves a challenge. We've been linked to Trey Hume for a while, but that won't happen now, will he? He'll start for them. Member for 15 months. Big up, Matt. He says, ready to just enjoy this season, no matter how it goes. Hope we stay up, but we will go right to the end. Ellen Road will be massive. I think that's my point as well. I don't expect us to be whipping boys. Not at all. Yeah, we mentioned them, Riley. We mentioned them, I think, more so with Marco Silva, if he was to leave. But Marco Silva's come out now and said he's staying, he's not going to Saudi. We just need to recruit well. And look, the window opens now in 3 days or 4. And then we'll hopefully see a flurry of action. But look, we will be there and we will see. I just wanted to do this video just to get, just have a little conversation about it and see what the chat's saying and see what the comments are saying after the fact. So big up to everyone. Thank you for yesterday watching the Firpo stuff and all that. The transfer stuff at the minute is quite thin. No, the transfer window opens on the 1st. Yeah, we were saying that, Joe. That Kuna is a massive loss. And Kuna's a massive loss. And like I say, they lost Neto last season. It put them in trouble. So I think they don't spend an awful lot either as well. So get recruitment right. Back the manager with the players that he wants. And we'll be all right. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. And Oki said, of course we're staying up. I need you to tell me who's going down then in our place. Because then you start to go, oh, God, yeah. Who is? How? I think Wolves is probably our best bet right now. That could change. But if I was to be a betting man, out of the mainstay Premier League sides, not the new, I think they're closest for drop. But we'll wait and see. Anyway, big up to everyone. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. Get your comments in. Hit the notification bell. And I'll see you. I'll see you maybe later on this evening, although I'm at my daughter's football training and I don't know, there might not be out to talk about. So if not, I'll see you tomorrow. But I don't see you through the week. I'll see you through the window and all that jazz. What happened to your positivity, Joe? If you've watched me, but I've always maintained this is going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I'm tech 17 now. If you're positive, Paul, and again, that's fine. I just think the Premier League is going to be really tough. I would ask you to tell me who then comes out for you and your reasoning behind it. Willing to have a conversation. If anyone could do it, it'll be yours, but it's going to be tough. You know what I mean? Definitely. Anyway. Woo! I don't see you for a week. I'll see you for a window. Peace, man. Bye-bye.